The importance of finishing what you start. Are you one of those who constantly takes on new projects only to never finish what you start? You aren't alone. So many people, if not all of us, take on new tasks that regularly end up unfinished. It's a bad habit to get stuck in, though. Finishing what you start is very important for several reasons. You'll feel frustrated. One of the reasons it's important to finish what you start is because if you're constantly leaving things undone, you'll be flooded with feelings of frustration. Although they may be because of a certain task, these feelings of frustration can spill over and affect other parts of your life. You may find yourself lashing out in anger at friends or coworkers, all because of a new project you started in your personal life and didn't finish. You won't feel accomplished. You feel a profound sense of accomplishment whenever you finish something in life, and this feeling goes a long way to helping create a positive mindset. So suppose you constantly leave unfinished projects in your wake. In that case, you'll never experience the satisfaction that comes from feeling a sense of accomplishment with yourself. You might feel anxiety. Besides feeling frustrated and missing out on the feelings of success, you may also begin to feel anxiety due to leaving multiple projects unfinished. But the scary part is that you may not be able to isolate these feelings of anxiety to the unfinished project. Rather, they may consume other areas of your life to the point where you feel anxious about everything you do. Change won't happen. But of course, the main reason you shouldn't be okay with leaving unfinished projects behind is that when you leave something unfinished, you will never see change. Starting something new is easy and anyone can do it, but not everyone can finish a project, and this is what leads to change and profound growth in life. No matter what projects you may currently have which are unfinished in life, it's time to go back and finish them. Finishing tasks you start helps lower your anxiety, feelings of frustration, while at the same time boosting feelings of accomplishment. Once you begin to finish all the things you start, you'll see the changes in your life and wonder why you ever left things unfinished in the first place. 3 steps to finish what you start. Do you often struggle to finish the projects you start, even when you have every intention of finishing them? Believe it or not, this is a common problem that most people face. Luckily, you can follow a few steps to ensure that you can become the type of person who finishes a project once you start it. 1. Make a plan. The first step to finishing a task is making sure you have a plan at the beginning. It needs to be a plan which you write down. A mental note isn't worth the piece of paper it's written on. You may want to jump in and start something in your excitement, but you might not realize all the work and challenges you'll face. When you take time to make a plan, this will better prepare you for the task at hand, and you'll be able to spot problems much more easily. 2. Take a break. If you find yourself getting overly frustrated or beginning to loathe the project because you've been working on it for so long, it's okay to take a short break. This break will help reset your mind and focus. You might even be able to solve some of the problems you're facing while you take this little breather. Just make sure to set an endpoint to your break, and this way you can hold yourself to it and not just abandon the project. 3. Make small goals and rewards for yourself. As you plan how you'll conquer your task or project, break your goal into smaller mini-goals. Then cross them off and reward yourself as you complete them. It'll help keep you on task, and you'll be able to feel as if you're making progress, even if it's small. This progress will do wonders to keep your spirits high while working on the project. The little rewards you're giving yourself will probably help too. So the next time you get excited about a new project or goal in your life, slow down a bit and make a plan, complete with smaller goals and rewards for yourself. Then, as you pursue the project, don't be afraid to take small breaks if you need to recuperate. Chances are, thanks to these 3 steps, you'll be much more likely to finish your new goal than leave it abandoned. Not finishing what you started can hurt you. Do you pass the hallway of forgotten projects when you enter your house? Or maybe all the projects you leave unfinished are stuffed into a closet where none of your guests can judge you over them. The point is, you tend to leave a lot of the things you start unfinished, and whether you realize it or not, this habit could be hurting you in several ways. It may make you anxious. If you find yourself constantly feeling anxious, it could be because of all the projects you're constantly leaving unfinished. Even if you don't currently feel any anxiety, this doesn't mean you won't eventually feel anxious feelings as a result of your unfinished projects. Not only that, but when feelings of anxiety go unresolved, they could lead to more serious issues such as depression. Thus, it's better to do whatever possible to avoid causing yourself to feel anxiety. You will have issues with frustration. Whether you realize it or not, leaving projects unfinished is a deep source of frustration in your life. This frustration may not just be affecting your personal life, it could also be affecting your professional life, causing you to lash out at coworkers and maybe even your boss. If this sounds like you, it means your unfinished projects could actually be what's holding you back in your career. You won't move forward. Finishing what you start is an important part of creating change within your life. If you aren't finishing the things you're starting, you aren't changing. If you aren't changing yourself, you're stagnant. Without change, you can't move forward. You will set aside any goals or dreams you have for yourself, and you may never complete them. It could also mean that you won't feel a feeling of accomplishment, which is another crucial aspect of helping propel yourself forward in life. Conclusion. Although you may not think that finishing what you've started is hurting you, the truth is, it probably is. When you leave a project unfinished, it can cause anxiety and feelings of frustration to develop and fester. Beyond just that, when you aren't finishing something, you're remaining stagnant in your life and denying yourself the growth and development you deserve. It's time to stop setting tasks aside and start completing the things you start today. The top 3 reasons we don't finish what we start. Do you feel as if you're constantly leaving a trail of half-finished projects in your wake? Are you the type of person who has one project in particular that you've always wanted to finish, but just haven't gotten around to it? If that sounds familiar, keep reading to find the top 3 reasons you tend not to finish what you've started. 1. You've lost motivation. When you started the project, your enthusiasm for starting something new first motivated you. However, if you haven't seen any results in some time, this may have caused your motivation to lower. The best way to combat this loss of motivation is by breaking your project down into more manageable pieces and rewarding yourself along the way for the steps well done. Conquering these more manageable pieces will help keep you motivated even when the project is long. 2. Negative thoughts about the project. Another reason you may find it difficult to complete a task is because of the way you think about the project. When it comes to mind, do you think you'll never finish it? Or is your mind filled with thoughts of how hard the project is? Both are negative paths of thinking, and they'll keep you from finishing the project. Instead, it's time to transform your thinking to be positive regarding the project you're trying to complete. A more positive outlook will give you new energy and motivation to complete the task. 3. Lack of discipline. Another reason people can't finish the projects they start is a lack of self-discipline. A person with self-discipline doesn't give up when the going gets tough. They also tend to avoid procrastinating or slacking off. If this sounds familiar to you, it's probably time that you work to cultivate self-discipline in your life. Boosting your self-discipline will ensure that you can start finishing all the projects you start. In conclusion, finishing what you start is quite often difficult. The most likely reason you cannot finish projects is probably one of the above reasons. If you want to enjoy feelings of success, it's time that you get to the bottom of your reason for not finishing a project and then work towards conquering the reason. This way, the next project you start, or one you have left uncompleted, will finally be done. After all, it's always better to be late than never finish at all. What can I learn from tasks I failed to finish? It's quite likely there's a task you've failed to finish at some point in your life, whether it was a project at work or maybe even one in your personal life. However, although failing to finish something isn't a great feeling, there are many ways you can learn from the tasks you fail to complete. How not to do the task. The first thing you'll learn from failing to complete a task is how not to do it. This lesson might seem a little silly, but it matters a lot. Learning what not to do is an essential part of the learning process. The next time you aim to complete this task, you know what actions and behaviors to avoid. The more times you fail, the more ways you learn not to accomplish your task. You'll learn something about yourself. Whenever you fail at anything in life, it'll teach you a lesson about yourself. Failure, and more importantly, your reaction to failure, will teach you a lot about yourself. It'll be an insight into your ability to deal with obstacles. You can also learn about your ability to bounce back from failure. Most importantly, failure can reveal weaknesses you need to address, or strengths you never knew you had. That it's time to move on. Sometimes when you fail to finish a task, it may teach you that it is time to move on. While on the one hand, you don't want to give up, on the other hand, you need to examine if it's worthwhile pursuing in the first place. This lesson is especially true if the reason for failure is completely out of your control. Maybe there isn't a market for that new product idea. Socioeconomic issues that you can't do anything about might impact your career. These are times it might be time to move on. It's also important to examine if your goals still reflect your current values and needs. If you regularly fail to complete a task, maybe it's because it isn't important to you anymore. Why waste energy on tasks that don't reflect who you are? Conclusion. You will likely come across a task you cannot finish at some time during your life. Don't fret though. When you fail to complete a task, it can teach you several important lessons. You can apply those lessons to your next task to ensure you can complete it and finally achieve success.